Are you looking for some fun ways to use your color cubes? These color cubes, created by the lovely Sarah Renee Clark, are more than just tools for helping you pick colors. Welcome back, I'm Christine, this is Mike. I'm going to show you some fun ways that you can use these color cubes in your sketchbook. I'll also show you how a little imagination can inspire you to create art you'll love. These were a gift from Sarah Renee Clark a little over a year ago. They've been really helpful whenever I feel stuck with color or I need to create something using colors I usually don't like. Oh, and if you don't have the color cubes, I've got you. Check out the link in the description box below. It'll take you to a random color palette picker that you can use for the entire video. So grab your sketchbook and pick a random card from your color cube, and let's get started on the first idea. Aw, this is such a cute cat. Definitely not my normal color selection, but that's kind of the point. It's perfect for this first idea. I'm calling it the Misfit Monster. You'll see why it's a misfit in a moment. Right now, I'm just sketching a little monster really quick, and then I'm outlining it with a Sharpie. Here's the twist. I'm taking this color swatch and labeling each of the colors with a number. Then I'm going to divide the monster into sections and randomly assign the numbers to each part. Try to keep this part as random as possible. I wanted to use my acrylic paint markers for this, but the colors weren't quite right. I even tried to match the colors to my colored pencils, but I still wasn't happy with it. So it was time to break out my acrylic paint and mix the colors on my own. There's more to this sketchbook idea than just filling in the shapes with colors. It's about letting go of control. It's about accepting weird combinations. It's about making something beautiful out of a palette that you wouldn't have picked. And it's great practice for color mixing. It's okay if it takes a little longer to get the colors just right or if it's not perfect. You're experimenting with color, and that's good enough. If you want to get really crazy, you don't have to do this with a monster. You can use a landscape or an animal. You can even grab a coloring book and use this method to fill it in. Most of the time when we sit down to make art, we decide everything. But this sketchbook idea lets you release the need for control, and that's where the fun begins. This little misfit monster challenge takes the randomness a step further because you scramble it even more by assigning numbers to the swatch. Then you randomly map those numbers to the parts of your drawing. You're not trying to make the best monster. You're trying to make the weirdest one possible with the colors you've been given. And trust me, weird is good enough. And throughout this process, you're giving yourself permission to practice matching colors with paint and other media. When you find that your monster is completely filled in, it's time to experiment. Break out some colored pencils or gel pens and add some texture. If you feel like it, grab some more acrylic paint and add more layers. The more personality that you can add to this sketchbook idea, the better. Now that I've got this little misfit monster, I'm actually going to use it in my next shop launch. I think this little guy is the perfect mascot for my B-grade or slightly imperfect products. I think I'm going to name this little guy Hubert, which is a playful nod to this color challenge that he was born from. So be sure to look out for him in the future. Moving right along, this next challenge is a little bit different. I want you to select 2 separate cards. Let's see what I get for card number 2. Ooh, juicy! Now for the fun part. I'm calling this sketchbook idea the palette mashup. I want you to take both of these images and create a brand new image. I decided to use the orange to represent the sun with the city in the foreground. I found that my Artex acrylic paint markers were pretty close to these color palettes, so I'm using them instead of acrylic paint to create a slightly more graphic effect. Blue and orange are complementary colors, so this mashup actually created a perfect balance of colors and is visually pleasing. I used a little bit of green for the trees in this image, and it's much lighter than the green represented on the palette. It also leans more into yellow, so I thought that it would add a little bit more interest next to the grayish blues that I used for the buildings. This sketchbook idea will force you to think outside of the box and embrace unexpected combinations. Plus, it's a great way to break free from perfectionism and just have fun experimenting with color. It's all about the fun. We're having fun here, okay? Whether you're stuck in a color rut or just want to play, a palette mashup is a great way to discover new ideas. For those of you who don't know, Sarah Renee Clark's Color Cube is made up of a bunch of curated color palettes, and each one is based on a photograph sourced from a copyright-free image library. This means that you can use the photos as reference images in your artwork without worrying about copyright issues. So you can make as many palette mashups as you like. To bring it all together, I added the text Citrus Sunrise. I can totally imagine this as a playful graphic on a bag or a t-shirt. This kind of idea is what makes this a great way to practice using your imagination along with different colors in your sketchbook. You might create something that you never would have thought of by yourself. Brace yourself, this next idea is a little addicting. Oof, orange, this is gonna be rough. Let me introduce you to the palette swap. Take your original drawings and swap them with the colors that you pull from the color cube. My first victim, Blenda. Now, I've always had it out for Blenda. I haven't liked her from the start, but I don't know that she deserves to be completely orange. I don't know if it's her googly eyes or the smirk on her face, but I never thought that she was good enough for Mike, and I have been waiting for the day that I can revamp her and make her look a little bit better. Today was the day I've been waiting for. I think I still did her dirty. What do you think? This is what she looked like originally, and here's the color swap. I mean, she's kind of cute, she's kind of adorable, but let's move on to Blobbert. The anticipation, ooh, blueberries. I love blueberries, I think they're delicious. Look at how closely my Artex markers match these colors. Now they're not exact, but that's okay. Blobbert is a fun guy. The funny thing about Blobbert is his colors don't define him. I mean, he's a paint bottle. He could be whatever color he likes, and I think we would still love him. I'm using more than just my acrylic paint markers. I'm also incorporating gel pens, a ballpoint pen. I want to add as much texture as possible, and I want to make him look like the original Blobbert. This is what the original Blobbert looks like, and this is the new version. You can see he's still pretty much the same, and that's why we love him. Moving on to Splash, let's see what I have to work with. Oh, this is perfect. Originally, Splash is pink, but since this is a color swap, I want the dominating color to be yellow. Finding a close match to this yellow is a little bit difficult, but I think this one will work. Oh no! Immediately after coloring in all of the yellow, all I see is SpongeBob. Adding a little bit of green might help, but as soon as I start adding the blue, all I can see is SpongeBob again. It's not the worst situation, but it's annoying. Here's what the original Splash looks like next to the color swap version. Alright, time to move on to Paula. Okay, this will be interesting. These colors are really throwing me off, so after I decide which markers match the colors the closest, I colored in the background green. And now I'm getting Oscar the Grouch vibes. Just when I thought it couldn't get any worse, when I start coloring the hearts for the paint palette, I don't know, it's just too dark for my taste. I think this is just a personal issue. I'm not a fan of green. I don't think it's cute, and I don't know how to make it work in this situation. So I'm sorry. So yeah, here's what the original Paula looks like. The color swap Paula has this weird dent in her head, so I'm just gonna try to fix it up a little bit and add more highlights. Let's just move on to Mike. Hopefully I get something good. Okay, all right, this might work. We all know what Mike looks like, so I thought it would be fun to do a color swap on Scuba Mike. Needless to say, my color selections couldn't be further from the actual palette. I tried, but my Artex acrylic paint markers weren't close enough to any of these colors. This is the best that I could do. I don't know what I got myself into with this. I think Mike and Blenda are gonna come for me because I did both of them so dirty. At least now I know to leave well enough alone. These alternative versions of the art supply monsters will only live in my sketchbook and will never see the light of day again. That's how scary they are to me. If you're enjoying this video, make sure you give it a like, that way I know, because I have a lot more color-inspired videos on the way. One of those videos is an emotional sketchbook video. I know you missed them, I missed them, they're coming back. I had to put those videos on pause for a little bit. I will talk about that more when the video comes out. For now, let's get started on the next idea. I'm calling this idea the wild card. I want you to create an original piece of art using whatever palette you pull. Since I'm painting in my sketchbook, I want to try to match the colors as close as possible, starting with the pink, which is pretty close out of the tube, but I wanted to add a little bit more blue anyway. These colors aren't too bad, but I still have to address the lack of purple. I haven't gotten to use purple at all in this video, and it's killing me. Now, I start all of my paintings with a color wash, and I like to use at least 3 different background colors. I usually do one light color, a medium color, and a dark color. This blue will be the medium color, and it'll fill in the majority of my background before I add my darkest blue. You'll notice that I left a large white area without any color wash. I decided that this color palette would be perfect for a tiger, and that large white area is where the tiger's body will go. I didn't want any of the background showing through in that section, which is why I kept it blank. But I did let the edges of the tiger overlap with the background washes because in real life, the background colors always influence the subject, especially around the edges. Letting some of that color peek through helps the figure feel more integrated with the environment around it. Since I'm using muted tones rather than pure orange and primary blue, the contrast is more subtle. These toned down colors still play off of each other, which kind of helps the whole piece feel cohesive and interesting. It's funny because I keep calling the color of the tiger orange, but it's more of a light pink based on our palette. But when you put this shade of pink next to this blue, our brains recognize it as orange. I think I added too much red on the larger portion of the body, but I think this is okay for now. I'll fix it later. I've done so many tigers on this channel and big cats in general, but I love painting tigers. There's something so fun about painting their stripes. Before I understood anything about color theory, I used to paint their stripes solid black, but now I know depending on the piece, I can either use a dark blue or a dark purple. Since purple isn't a part of this palette, I'm sticking to dark blue for all of the tiger stripes. I struggled a lot to keep all of these colors toned down and muted because you know me, I like everything to be so bright and vibrant. I had to keep reminding myself that this was the look I was going for. Sometimes when I'm painting, I get so excited about color that I start adding every shade of the rainbow. But this sketchbook idea, based on a random card I pulled from the color cube, is teaching me to slow down, show some restraint, and use color more intentionally. This is a perfect example of how using a limited color palette can help you elevate your work and create something you love. I added some shadows with black and white highlights later on to bring more definition to the tiger. But right now, I'm adding some bubbles to make this fit into our current story of the Rainbow Bridge. As you know, Nimbus is traveling between worlds to bring inspiration and ideas to artists. As he travels, he has these school of fish that travel alongside him. These fish represent the creativity and ideas that he's bringing with him. But every now and then, an idea gets lost in our world. This painting symbolizes the quiet, unexpected moments of inspiration that find us when we least expect them. The tiger is a symbol of strength and curiosity, and the fish is a symbol of unexpected inspiration. Together, these two ingredients have the power to create anything. So the next time you'd like to experiment with color and imagination in your sketchbook, play around with some of these ideas and see where they might take you. For more fun with color, go ahead and check out the huge Pantone collab that I started right here. Videos for this collab have not started to come out yet, but they will start coming out next week and every other week after that. So there's a lot of fun things on the way.